with another story tonight surrounding the corrupt media mob, and this is critical. This week, our years of reporting has once again, it's not the first time, been totally corroborated and confirmed. And thanks to the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, newly declassified documents, there is now irrefutable truth that the Trump-Russia collusion hoax was a phony political hit job right from the very beginning. A terrible lie created by Democrats and government officials to discredit Donald Trump's 2016 victory, malign his presidency. Took 3 years of his first term. He had to deal with this crap, these lies. But none of this would have been possible without the Trump-hating conspiracy theorists that call themselves journalists, and they're anything but, on almost pretty much every other outlet. So-called reporters, they were parroting the Russia collusion hoax as a legitimate news story. No questions asked, no research done, no skepticism of their sources. They were more than willing accomplices peddling the lies and the conspiracy theories. They were more than happy to trash Trump, upend our republic, because they were angry about the results of the 2016 election. Now, this was the foundation for what ultimately would culminate in the death of the legacy media mob. They died November 5th of last year. You know, some claim that Hillary Clinton's bought and paid for dirty Russian disinformation dossier was completely verified. It was completely corroborated. That was another lie. Even after the dossier was debunked, they stood by the lie. The dossier, that's the dossier that falsely claimed, remember, that Donald Trump was with hookers at the Ritz-Carlton in Moscow, and they were urinating on him. An insane lie. And then there were others who even told their viewers that Donald Trump was a Russian asset. The hysteria of dishonesty was off the charts. Let's take a little trip down memory lane, shall we? Take a look.
Certainly say with confidence that there is significant evidence of collusion between the campaign and Russia.
U.S. authorities are seeing if those emails we just talked about are connected to an ongoing Russian disinformation effort.
This president needs to be impeached. I believe that. I believe there was collusion.
Mr. Trump is seeing more and more of the walls closing in on him, which is why he is becoming increasingly desperate.
The presidency is effectively a Russian op, right? You know, partisan warfare between Republicans and Democrats. This is international warfare against our country.
This is evidence of willingness to commit collusion.
Specifically, Willie, I think what it means is that a federal judge found that people in Trump's organization were colluding with the Russians.
This cloud about collusion with Russia will hang over him no matter where he stands.
I personally think it's over. I don't think there's anything that can be done that can stop this at this point. Cacophony, this gushing of lies, problems, questions, chaos that will stop this presidency in its tracks.
It does look like collusion. It does look like he's listening to Putin more than he is American intelligence. And frankly, I've never seen that before.
No, this is evidence that they are all corrupt liars, complicit, basically talking heads, an extension of the DNC press office. That's all it's evidence of. And because none of it was remotely true. Conspiracy theorists, Rachel Maddow, Humpty Dumpty, Fake Jake Tapper, you know, the whole group of them, and the hundreds of other so-called journalists that are not journalists. They're talk shows, but they're not honest about what they do. They reported this hoax day in and day out, year in, year out. Where's their apology? Where's the retraction? They manipulated their viewers for reckless political gain to advance their own political agenda, and now they just want to move on. Is it any wonder they lied about the border with no problems at all? The border is closed. The border is secure. Joe Biden is so cognitively sharp. Meanwhile, the guy's in a steep cognitive decline. Inflation is transitory. Is it any surprise that the lies continue today? Is it any surprise that with all they threw at Donald Trump leading into the election in 24, the American people had already determined that they're not trustworthy? You cannot believe them because they spread lies like the Russia hoax and every other lie that they told about Donald Trump. Who would ever trust them again? That's why in 2007 I said journalism is dead. After this past election, presidential election, I said the legacy state-run media mob is dead. Fake news CNN, they wouldn't even show the full Tulsi Gabbard press conference detailing the intelligence community's findings when she declassified those documents. They muted the director of national intelligence. They cut away. They started trashing the entire Trump administration, which is pretty much what they do every single second, every minute, every hour of every 24-hour day. Take a look.
Multiple intelligence community assessments released in the months leading up to the November 2016 election concluded that Russia had neither the intent nor capability to impact the outcome of the U.S. election. On December 5th,
we've been listening there to the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, continuing on what has now been a multi-day effort, not only with public statements like this, but release of documents to attempt to back up the quite extreme allegation that President Obama is guilty of treason and that he worked in some sort of conspiracy with Hillary Clinton, etc.
This is why I say I don't even think CNN will make it another 3 years, 5 years. They won't be around. They have chased everybody away. Nobody trusts them, and nobody should trust them. Fake news CNN spent day after day after day for years covering the Russia hoax nonstop, just like MSDNC, the New York Times, Washington Post, ABC, NBC, CBS. But now the truth has finally been revealed and backed up by U.S. intelligence and declassified documents. Fake news CNN, suddenly no longer believes that this story is worth their time. Not at all. It was only good when they could tell a lie about the story, not the truth about the story. You know, fake Russian disinformation bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton. Was that worth reporting? Real U.S. intelligence from career officials isn't worth reporting? Okay, those are called editorial decisions. That's also called, bias. Take a look.
Tulsi Gabbard, who is speaking at this moment, as you can see there on screen in the White House briefing room. There's no better way to get back in the good graces, or try at least to do so, than embrace one of the president's largely conspiracy theories and just favorite old tropes going back to the 2016 campaign.
But I do think that she does make Republicans nervous because of her background and lack of seriousness. And if there is something that happens in this country, I'm not sure that they trust her.
Tulsi Gabbard is simply an opportunist in this play, right? Her star is falling. Her analysis was thrown out the window on Iran. She embarrassed herself with that somewhat bizarre video about nuclear weapons in Japan. And so she's using this as an opportunity to get herself back into favor with the White House.
If this is the level of intelligence that we're getting from the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence, on this subject, it makes you wonder about what else we're going to get from them.
And it gets worse. One analyst at Fake News CNN actually declaring the Trump administration was aiding Russia by reporting the truth. Okay, I guess old habits die hard. Take a look.
What I don't appreciate is that these are cherry-picked examples, that they are quibbling, angels dancing on the head of a pin. When we have volumes of reporting, you're always going to find one report that's different. Okay, whatever. The big message here for Americans, Russia tried to interfere in our election processes with the point of undermining our confidence in our democracy. And by bringing this up again, the Trump administration is doing the work of our adversary, Russia.
What Americans don't appreciate is when you contradict things that are demonstrably false. There was a similar trend across all the networks. The bombshell information presented by the DNI either ignored or quickly discredited. We saw the exact same thing with Biden's cognitive decline. First, they told us not to believe our lying eyes. Remember the allegations when you saw Joe in a massive decline? Those are cheap fake videos. They ignored the glaring issues and accused us of disseminating disinformation. And finally, when Joe was long gone, oh, yeah, let's write a book about it, make some money. no responsibility for their role in this cover-up, how complicit they were. And now many are wondering why few Americans trust them at all. And breaking today, Biden's former chief of staff, Ron Klain, actually sat with House investigators for 5 whopping hours answering questions about his role in the cover-up of Joe Biden's cognitive decline. He defended the former president, but he admitted that even Hillary Clinton raised questions about Joe's mental fitness by 2024. Maybe she should have done so honestly in public. At the very same time, the media mob was still accusing us of cheap fakes, a Karine Jean-Pierre talking point, for playing very real videos, not doctored at all, of Biden struggling to perform even the most basic tasks, never mind communicate. Americans weren't fooled, and in November, they sent Democrats packing, and the media mob an important message: we will never trust you again. You have lost our trust. Sadly, that message has fallen on deaf ears.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.